Let's talk about the basic operations of fractions. Fractions are a form of division. So any fraction a over b is equal to a divided by b. Notice the division sign looks like a fraction. It is important to remember the top number of a fraction is called the numerator. The bottom number of the fraction is called the denominator. So here's my fraction 1/2. And let's cut that fraction in half. That's the same thing as multiplying by 1/2. If we take 1/2 and cut it into 1/2, we end up with 1/4, or 1/4. Because fractions are a form of division, and remember, division is just multiplication in reverse, it is very simple to multiply fractions. To multiply fractions, we multiply the numerators, or the top numbers of the fraction, and then we multiply the denominators, or the bottom number of the fractions. So it is very simple to multiply fractions. The product of any fraction is always the product of the numerators over the product of the denominators. So here again is my fraction 1/2. When we take the fraction 1/2 and multiply that by 1/2, the product is 1/4, or 1/4. And notice that's the same as taking my 1/2 and dividing it into 2. 1/2 divided by 2 is equal to 1/4. First, we will convert the number 2 into a fraction 2 over 1. 1/2 divided by 2 over 1 is equal to 1/4. Any number can be converted into an equivalent fraction by placing it in the numerator over 1. If we take 1/2 and divide by 2 over 1, how do we end up with 1/4? Well, let's take a look at the divisor. Let's take a look at the number 2 over 1. Let's invert the fraction 2 over 1. Let's switch the numerator and the denominator. The inverse of the fraction 2 over 1 is 1 over 2. So dividing by 2 over 1 is the same as multiplying by the inverse of the fraction. Because fractions are a form of multiplication and division, it's very simple to multiply and divide fractions. To divide fractions, we invert the divisor, then multiply the fractions. To multiply fractions, we multiply the numerators, and then we multiply the denominators. The quotient of any fraction is always the product of the fractions after the divisor has been inverted. The product of any fraction is always the product of the numerators over the product of the denominators.